The millionaire secretly follows his black maid to her home. What he discovers leaves him stunned. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from today. Celine's shoes made a loud tapping sound as she walked through the big, shiny hallways of Vale Enterprises. She was pushing a cleaning cart, heading to the top floor of the tall building in New York City. Her dark blue uniform looked very different from the fancy offices around her, but the way she moved, so graceful and confident, didn't seem like someone who cleaned floors for a living. Cassian Vale, the boss of the company, watched her on his office cameras. Something about her was interesting. 3 weeks ago, he had noticed her while she was organizing a bookshelf. She had stopped in front of a special old book called The Great Gatsby and touched it gently, like she knew it well. "Mr. Vale, your meeting with the Chinese investors starts in 5 minutes," his assistant, Isadora, said through the speaker. "Thank you, Isadora," he replied, fixing his fancy tie and looking out at the view of Central Park. During the meeting, Cassian couldn't stop looking at Celine as she cleaned the big windows. When one of the investors mentioned a difficult Chinese saying, he saw a look on her face. It was quick, but he could tell she understood it. After the meeting, he found his desk perfectly clean and a small note correcting the Chinese phrase. The handwriting was so fancy it looked like a teacher had written it. "Isadora, bring me Celine Eloin's work file," he said. When he read the papers, he was surprised. Celine was 28 years old, had no college degree, and lived in a small apartment in the Bronx. She had only worked for cleaning companies. There was nothing in her records that explained how she knew so much about books, history, and even the Chinese language. Cassian became more and more curious about her. Over the next few weeks, he kept watching her. He saw how she secretly corrected mistakes in important company papers. She spoke about art and history like an expert. She stood tall and proud, as if she had grown up in a very different world. One rainy night, Cassian decided to follow Celine after work. He stayed far behind as she got on a bus to the Bronx. When she reached her stop, she walked into an old building. He waited a few minutes, then got closer. Through a window, he saw something that shocked him. Inside, Celine was smiling as she hugged several children. An old woman was serving them dinner at a long table. The walls were covered in colorful drawings, and in one corner there was a little bookshelf full of books. This wasn't just an apartment. It was a home for children who needed help. "Mr. Vale," a familiar voice said behind him. He turned quickly and saw Isadora standing there, holding an umbrella. "I thought you might want to know the truth about her," she said, handing him a folder. The papers inside told a story Cassian never expected. Celine's real name was Selene Everhart. 5 years ago, she was the daughter of a powerful company owner, but her family lost everything because of a man named Evander Holt. The name hit Cassian like a punch. He knew Evander Holt. In fact, they had worked together to take over Celine's family's company. Back then, Cassian hadn't cared about what happened to the people involved. It was just business. "The children's shelter was her family's project," Isadora explained. "When she lost everything, she still found a way to keep it running. She takes care of these kids with her own money." "She doesn't know I was part of the takeover?" Cassian asked. "No, she doesn't," Isadora answered. Cassian felt something heavy in his chest. He looked through the window again. Celine was helping a little boy with his homework, her face full of love and kindness. He had never seen her look like that in the office. "Why is she working in my company?" he asked, mostly to himself. "She used a fake name to get hired," Isadora said. "I think she's looking for answers about what happened to her family's business." Cassian felt trapped between two feelings. On one hand, he worried that Celine might be planning to get revenge, but on the other hand, he couldn't stop admiring her strength. The rain started falling harder, but Cassian didn't move. He just stood there, thinking about the choices he had made in his life. The next morning, he couldn't focus on his work. The image of Celine with the children kept coming back to his mind. He picked up his phone and pressed the button to talk to Isadora. Isadora, bring me all the files on the Everhart Industries takeover. Everything, including the secret reports. Minutes later, Isadora brought a pile of papers into his office. Mr. Vale, you have a meeting in an hour, she reminded him. Cancel it, he said. Tell them it's a personal emergency. As he read the papers, he saw things he hadn't noticed before. Evander Holt had tricked everyone. He made it look like Everhart Industries was failing when, in reality, they were working on an amazing clean energy project. If the project had continued, it could have changed the world. But Evander destroyed it, and Cassian had helped. Downstairs, Celine continued her work, pushing her cleaning cart. When she passed by his office, she stopped for a second. Their eyes met through the glass door. There was no anger in her gaze, only a quiet determination. Mr. Vale? Her voice startled him. She had stepped inside to clean his office. Yes, please come in, he said, closing the files quickly. Actually, I'd like to talk to you. Celine stood still, her face calm but serious. You know a lot about literature, don't you? He asked. Her eyes widened for just a second before she answered. I don't know what you mean, sir. I'm just a cleaner. Cassian shook his head. Or should I say Miss Everhart? She froze. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Then she straightened her back, standing tall like the person she really was. How long have you known? She asked firmly. Since last night, Cassian admitted. I saw you at the shelter. Were you following me? She asked, her voice sharp with anger. Yes, he said, and I regret it, just like I regret many other things. He turned to look out the window. I was part of what happened to your company. I didn't do the worst things, but I let them happen. Evander Holt, Celine said, her voice bitter. He destroyed my family's company. He didn't just take our business. He stole our clean energy project. It could have helped thousands of people. The project, was it solar energy? Cassian asked. It was something even better. She replied, we found a way to make solar power 3 times stronger. Cassian's stomach turned. Holt is in Seattle right now, making a deal with a company that works on solar energy. Celine gasped. He's selling my father's project. We can stop him, Cassian said. But I need your help. Tell me everything you know. Celine hesitated. Why are you doing this? Cassian took a deep breath. Because I spent years caring only about money. Seeing you, seeing what you do for those kids, it made me realize I need to change. Celine stared at him for a long moment, trying to decide if she could trust him. Outside, the rain kept falling. Celine walked to the window and watched the raindrops slide down the glass. She took a deep breath and spoke in a calm but serious voice. The project was called Project Aurora, she said. It wasn't just about using the sun for energy. It was about making clean energy available for people who don't have much. She looked at Cassian. My father, she paused for a moment. He believed clean energy should not be something only rich people can have. Cassian stepped closer to her. We can fix this, Celine. If you help me, I can prove that Holt stole the project. Celine turned to face him. And what happens after that? Even if we prove it, the research is gone. Years of work, just gone. Maybe not all of it, Cassian said with a small smile. Holt is smart, but he's also predictable. If he is trying to sell the technology, he must have kept copies of the files. Celine looked at him for a long moment. Why should I trust you? You were part of the group that destroyed my family. I'm not asking you to trust me right now, Cassian said. I'm asking you to let me fix what I did wrong. They were standing very close now. Cassian could see the determination in Celine's eyes, the softness of her lips, and the way she tried to hide her pain. There's something I didn't tell you, Celine said quietly. Before we lost everything, I managed to save some files. Not enough to rebuild the project, but enough to prove it was ours. Cassian's heart beat faster. Where are they? In a safe place, she said. I hid them at the shelter. No one would think to look there. We need to get them now, Cassian said, already moving towards the door. If Holt finds out... No. Celine grabbed his arm. We can't rush. If he suspects we have something, the children at the shelter could be in danger. Her touch sent a strange feeling through Cassian. He turned to look at her, closer than he expected. You're right, he said softly. We have to be careful. But I promise, Celine, I will do everything I can to make this right. The rain kept falling outside, tapping against the window. In that moment, they were not a billionaire and a cleaning lady. They were two people fighting for the same cause and feeling something neither of them could ignore. Tomorrow, Celine finally said, letting go of his arm. I'll bring the documents tomorrow, but we need a plan. Cassian nodded. I'll take care of it, and Celine, thank you for trusting me, Ray. She gave him a small smile before walking away. I don't fully trust you, she said, but I want to believe that people can change. As she left, Cassian knew that he had already changed. And it wasn't just about justice, it was also about the feelings growing inside him for Celine Everhart. The next morning, thick fog covered the city, as if trying to hide the secrets about to be revealed. Cassian arrived at his company, Vale Enterprises, earlier than usual. His mind was focused on the documents Celine was bringing. As he waited in his office, he looked at the evidence he had gathered on Evander Holt. A pattern began to appear. Other companies had been attacked the same way Celine's father's company had been, and every time, the stolen technology ended up in the hands of big businesses. Mr. Vale? A voice interrupted his thoughts. Isadora, his assistant, stood at the door. The legal team is ready for the meeting. Cancel it, he said. His eyes were fixed on the elevator doors, waiting for Celine. Celine arrived right on time. At 7 a.m., she wore her navy blue uniform, but Cassian could see the tension in her shoulders. She pushed her cleaning cart into his office and closed the door. Did you bring the documents? He asked. Celine nodded. She removed a hidden compartment in her cart and pulled out a worn folder. 5 years of keeping this, she said, her fingers touching the yellowed cover. I sometimes wondered if it would still matter. Cassian reached for the folder, but Celine held it back. Before I show you this, I need to know why you're really helping me. Don't say it's just guilt or doing the right thing. There's something more. Cassian walked to the window and looked at the foggy city. When I built this company, I thought success was about numbers. I thought winning meant making more money, buying more companies. He turned back to her. But then I saw you at the shelter. Even after losing everything, you still took care of those kids. You turned your pain into something good, and I realized I was chasing the wrong kind of success. Celine looked down at the folder, thinking, and that's enough for you to risk everything? She asked. It's not just that, he admitted, stepping closer. There's something about you, Celine, something that makes me want to be better. Celine hesitated for a moment, then handed him the folder. The documents prove Holt stole our technology, she said. There are emails, reports, even pictures of him using our computers when he wasn't supposed to. Cassian opened the folder. This is enough to take him down. We can... The elevator dinged. They turned to see someone stepping out. Evander Holt, Celine whispered, but he should be in Seattle. Cassian quickly hid the folder. Keep cleaning, he whispered. Holt entered without knocking. Alex, old friend, he said with a fake smile. Didn't expect to see me? Evander, Cassian said coldly. Didn't know you were in town. Holt glanced at Celine, who kept her head down. Can we talk in private? Of course, Cassian said. He signaled to Celine to stay. As they walked to the company cafe, Cassian could feel Holt was up to something. I heard you've been looking into Everhart Industries, Holt said. Any reason? Just looking through old files, Cassian replied. Why? No reason, Holt said, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Just curious. That case was closed years ago. Nothing ever really ends, Evander, Cassian said. Back in the office, Celine found more secret papers in Holt's old office. Her hands shook as she took pictures with her phone. When Cassian returned, Celine's face was pale. "He knows," she said. "Yes," Cassian sighed, "but he doesn't know how much we have. That gives us the advantage." Celine stepped closer. "Holt is dangerous. He won't give up easily." Cassian gently took her arms. "I won't let him hurt you. Do you trust me?" Celine looked into his eyes. "I'm starting to. And that scares me more than Holt." Just then, Cassian's phone beeped. Isadora had sent a message. "Holt just requested access to old Everhart Industries files. We have to act fast," Cassian said, showing her the message. Celine nodded, standing tall. "I'm ready." The fog outside was starting to lift. It was time for the truth to come out. Celine walked to the window and watched the raindrops slide down the glass. She took a deep breath and spoke in a calm but serious voice. "The project was called Project Aurora," she said. "It wasn't just about using the sun for energy. It was about making clean energy available for people who don't have much." She looked at Cassian. "My father," she paused for a moment. "He believed clean energy should not be something only rich people can have." Cassian stepped closer to her. "We can fix this, Celine. If you help me, I can prove that Holt stole the project." Celine turned to face him. "And what happens after that? Even if we prove it, the research is gone. Years of work. Just gone." "Maybe not all of it," Cassian said with a small smile. "Holt is smart, but he's also predictable. If he is trying to sell the technology, he must have kept copies of the files." Celine looked at him for a long moment. "Why should I trust you? You were part of the group that destroyed my family." "I'm not asking you to trust me right now," Cassian said. "I'm asking you to let me fix what I did wrong." They were standing very close now. Cassian could see the determination in Celine's eyes, the softness of her lips, and the way she tried to hide her pain. "There's something I didn't tell you," Celine said quietly. "Before we lost everything, I managed to save some files. Not enough to rebuild the project, but enough to prove it was ours." Cassian's heart beat faster. "Where are they?" "In a safe place," she said. "I hid them at the shelter. No one would think to look there." "We need to get them now," Cassian said, already moving towards the door. "If Holt finds out—" "No," Celine grabbed his arm. "We can't rush. If he suspects we have something, the children at the shelter could be in danger." Her touch sent a strange feeling through Cassian. He turned to look at her, closer than he expected. "You're right," he said softly. "We have to be careful. But I promise, Celine, I will do everything I can to make this right." The rain kept falling outside, tapping against the window. In that moment, they were not a billionaire and a cleaning lady. They were two people fighting for the same cause and feeling something neither of them could ignore. "Tomorrow," Celine finally said, letting go of his arm. "I'll bring the documents tomorrow, but we need a plan." Cassian nodded. "I'll take care of it. And Celine, thank you for trusting me." She gave him a small smile before walking away. "I don't fully trust you," she said, "but I want to believe that people can change." As she left, Cassian knew that he had already changed. And it wasn't just about justice. It was also about the feelings growing inside him for Celine Everhart. The next morning, thick fog covered the city, as if trying to hide the secrets about to be revealed. Cassian arrived at his company, Vale Enterprises, earlier than usual. His mind was focused on the documents Celine was bringing. As he waited in his office, he looked at the evidence he had gathered on Evander Holt. A pattern began to appear. Other companies had been attacked the same way Celine's father's company had been. And every time the stolen technology ended up in the hands of big businesses. "Mr. Vale?" A voice interrupted his thoughts. Isadora, his assistant, stood at the door. "The legal team is ready for the meeting." "Cancel it," he said. His eyes were fixed on the elevator doors, waiting for Celine. Celine arrived right on time at 7 a.m. She wore her navy blue uniform, but Cassian could see the tension in her shoulders. She pushed her cleaning cart into his office and closed the door. "Did you bring the documents?" he asked. Celine nodded. She removed a hidden compartment in her cart and pulled out a worn folder. 5 years of keeping this, she said, her fingers touching the yellowed cover. I sometimes wondered if it would still matter. Cassian reached for the folder, but Celine held it back. Before I show you this, I need to know why you're really helping me. Don't say it's just guilt or doing the right thing. There's something more. Cassian walked to the window and looked at the foggy city. When I built this company, I thought success was about numbers. I thought winning meant making more money, buying more companies. He turned back to her. But then I saw you at the shelter. Even after losing everything, you still took care of those kids. You turned your pain into something good. And I realized I was chasing the wrong kind of success. Celine looked down at the folder, thinking. And that's enough for you to risk everything? She asked. It's not just that, he admitted, stepping closer. There's something about you, Celine. Something that makes me want to be better. Celine hesitated for a moment, then handed him the folder. The documents prove Holt stole our technology, she said. There are emails, reports, even pictures of him using our computers when he wasn't supposed to. Cassian opened the folder. This is enough to take him down. We can. The elevator dinged. They turned to see someone stepping out. Evander Holt, Celine whispered, but he should be in Seattle. Cassian quickly hid the folder. Keep cleaning, he whispered. Holt entered without knocking. Alex, old friend, he said with a fake smile. Didn't expect to see me? Evander, Cassian said coldly. Didn't know you were in town. Holt glanced at Celine, who kept her head down. Can we talk in private? Of course, Cassian said. He signaled to Celine to stay. As they walked to the company cafe, Cassian could feel Holt was up to something. I heard you've been looking into Everhart Industries, Holt said. Any reason? Just looking through old files, Cassian replied. Why? No reason, Holt said, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Just curious. That case was closed years ago. Nothing ever really ends, Evander, Cassian said. Back in the office, Celine found more secret papers in Holt's old office. Her hands shook as she took pictures with her phone. When Cassian returned, Celine's face was pale. He knows, she said. Yes, Cassian sighed. But he doesn't know how much we have. That gives us the advantage. Celine stepped closer. Holt is dangerous. He won't give up easily. Cassian gently took her arms. I won't let him hurt you. Do you trust me? Celine looked into his eyes. I'm starting to, and that scares me more than Holt. Just then, Cassian's phone beeped. Isadora had sent a message. Holt just requested access to old Everhart Industries files. We have to act fast, Cassian said, showing her the message. We need to hurry, he said, showing the message to Celine. Are you ready? Celine nodded and stood tall. I was born ready. But then she hesitated. Cassian, what if something goes wrong? It won't happen, he said, cutting her off. His fingers gently touched her face. I promise. Outside, the thick fog was lifting, showing a bright blue sky. It was time to bring all the secrets into the light. The next morning, they put their plan into action. Cassian called for an important meeting with his company's leaders. Meanwhile, Celine kept cleaning as usual, acting like nothing was wrong. But Holt, a dangerous man, was walking through the halls, watching everything like a hunter looking for his next meal. As Celine walked past Cassian's office, pretending to take out the trash, she whispered, Are the documents safe? Yes, they're locked in my safe at home, Cassian whispered back. Holt can't reach them there. But neither of them knew that Holt had his own plan. During lunch, Isadora, Cassian's assistant, heard something strange on a phone call. Someone had gotten into Celine's shelter records. Isadora rushed into Cassian's office. Sir, something bad is happening. Social Services is coming to inspect the shelter today. By surprise. Cassian felt his stomach drop. Holt, he muttered. He's trying to scare Celine by threatening the kids. Without wasting time, Cassian called his lawyers. Within minutes, legal experts from his company were on their way to the shelter to make sure everything was okay. Celine, Cassian called through the intercom. Come to my office now. When Celine walked in, she already looked worried. The children are all I have left, Cassian. I can't lose them. You won't, Cassian said, stepping closer. But we have to act fast. Holt is playing dirty. He always has, she said, her hands shaking. That's how he destroyed my family. Cassian took her hands in his, surprising both of them. This time is different. You're not alone. Before they could say more, Holt walked in without knocking. He smirked when he saw Cassian and Celine holding hands. Well, well, Holt said, shutting the door. Cassian Vale, holding hands with the cleaning lady? That's unexpected. What do you want, Evander? Cassian asked, not letting go of Celine's hands. I want to make a deal, Holt said, sitting down without permission, before certain secrets come out. Celine narrowed her eyes. What secrets? Oh, Miss Everhart, or should I say Miss Elowin, Holt grinned. Fake documents are a crime. So is running a shelter without proper paperwork. You have no proof, Cassian said. Holt pulled out an envelope. This inspection might find some mistakes, unless of course you're willing to trade. Celine squeezed Cassian's hands, looking for strength. What do you want? Cassian asked. The papers you have about Everhart Industries. All of them. Holt said, if you give them to me, the shelter stays open and nobody finds out who your little friend really is. The room went quiet. Cassian looked at Celine. He could see she was torn between fighting for justice and protecting the children. Do you really think you can keep tricking people? Cassian asked in a calm but scary voice, threatening innocent kids without facing the consequences? Holt smirked. Business is business, Alex. You used to understand that. I used to, Cassian agreed, until I saw how people like you ruin everything. Holt stood up. You have until the end of the day to decide. Then he left, his threat hanging in the air. Celine collapsed into a chair. He's going to destroy everything. Again. No, Cassian said, kneeling beside her. Because while he was here, Isadora was already sending our proof to the FBI. Celine's eyes widened. And the shelter? My lawyers are already there, Cassian said. And about your name, technically, you never lied. Elowin is your mother's last name, right? Tears filled her eyes. You thought of everything. I tried, he said, but mostly I thought of you, how you deserve justice, how those kids deserve safety. Why? She whispered. Why do you care so much? Cassian gently wiped away a tear. Because you showed me a different kind of strength. Just then, Isadora burst in. Sir, the FBI is here. They've arrested Holt in the lobby. Cassian and Celine rushed to see. When they arrived, Holt was being handcuffed. He glared at them. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Celine said firmly. The truth always wins. As Holt was taken away, Celine leaned against Cassian. It was a small moment, but it meant so much. Trust, gratitude, and maybe something more. What happens now? She asked. Now, Cassian said, we rebuild, together, if you'll have me. Celine smiled, the first real smile in a long time. Together sounds nice. News spread fast about Holt's arrest. Workers at Vale Enterprises whispered and stared at Celine. But she was no longer just the cleaning lady. She stood tall, proud of who she was. Isadora came into Cassian's office. The lawyers want to talk about getting money back from Everhart Industries, and the press is asking questions. Cassian watched Celine through the glass. She was speaking to some of the kids who were now safe. Tell the press we'll make a statement tomorrow and set the lawyer meeting for this afternoon. One more thing, Isadora said. Northwest Technologies is trying to reach you. Holt promised them something. Interesting, Cassian said. Set up a meeting for tomorrow. I have an idea. Later, Celine brought him coffee. The children are safe, she said. Celine, Cassian said, stepping closer. I have an idea. What is it? She asked. Holt promised Northwest stolen technology, but that technology belongs to you. Cassian, that research isn't finished. But you have the knowledge, he said. And I have the resources. Let's finish your father's work. Affordable, clean energy for everyone. Celine's hands shook. Are you asking for a partnership? I'm offering a way to make your father's dream come true. Why? She asked. Because you showed me a better way to do business. Before she could respond, Isadora ran in. The police found something in Holt's office. You need to see it. In a conference room, police showed Celine a folder. These are the original Aurora project files, an officer said. Celine gasped. He kept them all these years? And we found proof he did this to other companies too. Cassian put his hand on her shoulder. I have a suggestion. Over the next hours, they planned a new company, a foundation to bring clean energy to the world. That night, they stood together, looking at the city lights. I still can't believe it's real, Celine whispered. It's just the beginning, Cassian said. She turned to him. Together? Together, he said, sealing the promise with a gentle kiss. The news that Everhart and Vale Enterprises were working together made a big splash in the business world. People were excited, and the company's stock price went up. But Cassian didn't care about that. He was only thinking about Celine. She had spent days looking through old papers from the Aurora project, trying to bring her family's dream back to life. You need to rest, Cassian said as he walked into the new lab he had made just for her on the 48th floor. You've been here for 16 hours. Celine looked up from the papers on the table. She looked very tired. I can't stop now. Every page I read reminds me of my father and how he wanted to change the world. Cassian gently took a pen from her hand. Your father would be proud of you, but he would also want you to take care of yourself. The kids at the shelter asked for me today, she said with a sigh. Miss Elowen said some of them are having nightmares after the inspection. That's why you need a break, Cassian said. He helped her stand up. Come with me. I have a surprise for you. Cassian, I really need to. Trust me, he said with a smile, leading her to the elevator. 20 minutes later, they were on the rooftop of the building. A beautiful table was set up for dinner. The sunset made the city look magical, set with golden light reflecting off the tall buildings. When did you plan this? Celine asked, touched by his kindness. Isadora helped me, Cassian admitted, pulling out a chair for her. I thought we needed a moment to breathe and celebrate. A waiter brought them champagne and food before leaving them alone. Celine looked at the city below, lost in thought. You know what's funny? She finally said. For years, I hated this building. To me, it was a symbol of everything I lost. And now, Cassian said, looking into her eyes, it's where we are building something new, something better. Northwest Technologies wants to have a video call tomorrow to discuss our partnership, Celine said, changing the subject. Let's not talk about business now, Cassian said, placing his hand over hers. Tonight is about us. His touch made her heart race. She thought about how much her life had changed in the past few weeks, from a cleaning worker to a business partner, from a person who lost everything to someone rebuilding her future. The kids at the shelter asked if you'd visit again, she said hesitantly. They liked your stories about building skyscrapers. Cassian smiled, remembering how he had told the children stories while lawyers worked on the documents to protect the shelter. How about we take them on a trip next weekend, he suggested. I know a beautiful farm in upstate New York with horses. They would love it. Celine's eyes filled with tears. You've really changed, haven't you? You're not the cold businessman I thought you were. Maybe I just needed someone to show me a greater purpose, he said softly. Someone who made me see success and power differently. They talked about the future as the night covered Manhattan. They planned for the foundation and the changes they wanted to make. I have one more surprise, Cassian said after dessert. He took an envelope from his pocket and gave it to Celine. She opened it and gasped. Is this? The land next to the shelter, Cassian confirmed. We can expand the space, build a school, and maybe even a community center with solar panels. Cassian, I don't know what to say. Say we'll do this together. He stood up and held out his hand. Not just the business, not just the shelter, everything. Celine took his hand. The soft music playing in the background made the moment even more special as they danced. It still scares me, she whispered. How everything changed so fast. It changed for the better, Cassian said, holding her close. And this is just the beginning. The next morning, Celine was in the conference room, reviewing her notes. Right. The sun shined on her dark hair as she chewed the end of a pen, a habit Cassian found cute. Ready? He asked, setting 2 cups of coffee on the table. Almost, she said, smiling at him. I spent the night preparing the presentation. I want them to understand not just the technology, but the vision behind it. The screen lit up as the video call started. The executives from Northwest Technologies appeared, looking serious. Celine sat up straight, her eyes filled with determination. Gentlemen, she said confidently, the Aurora project is not just about saving energy. It's about making clean energy available to everyone. For an hour, she spoke with passion, explaining everything clearly. Cassian watched proudly as she answered difficult questions with ease. Miss Everhart, said the CEO of Northwest when she finished, this is not just impressive, it's groundbreaking. And this time, Cassian added, everything will be done right, with full transparency and benefits for the community. After the call, Celine let out a breath of relief. They get it. They really understand what we're trying to do. You were amazing, Cassian said, gently touching her face. Your father would be proud. Isadora rushed into the room. Mr. Vale, we have a problem. The press found out about the shelter. There are reporters everywhere. Celine's heart pounded. The children. I've already sent security, Cassian assured her. Isadora, get the car. We're going there now. At the shelter, they found reporters with cameras surrounding the building. Miss Elowen stood at the door, protecting the children. Celine, a little girl called out, running to her. Cassian quickly moved to shield them from the flashing cameras. Why didn't you tell us about your past, Miss Everhart? A reporter asked. Is it true that Evander Holt ruined your life? What's your relationship with Cassian Vale? Celine ignored them, focusing on the child in her arms. It's okay, Junie. Let's go inside. Inside, the other children looked scared. Cassian saw how Celine comforted them. We need to make a statement, he whispered. We have to control the story before it harms the shelter. Celine nodded but asked, how do we protect the kids? I have an idea. Cassian knelt beside them. How about a special trip? I know a safe place where we can have fun. The children cheered. Can I bring my drawing book? Asked Rio. Of course, Cassian smiled. In fact, I have a helicopter waiting. How about a ride above the city? Celine looked at him in shock. A helicopter? You don't do things halfway, do you? Never when it comes to protecting what matters. Within an hour, they were flying toward a beautiful mansion in Connecticut. The kids pressed their faces against the windows, excited. I can't believe you have a house here, Celine said. Actually, Cassian admitted softly, I bought it last night. I thought we could use it as a safe home for the children. Celine looked at Cassian, too surprised to speak. He smiled nervously and said, I know this is a little fast, but after seeing how much you care for the children and how you change lives, I want to be part of that. I really do. Tears shone in Celine's eyes as the helicopter landed gently. The children were already jumping with excitement, ready to explore their new home. You already belong here, she said softly, holding his hand. More than you know. The rest of the day was full of laughter and fun. Cassian was really good at making up treasure hunts, and Celine planned a picnic in the garden. Watching them, Mrs. Elowen smiled. She could see something special growing between them. That night, after the children were tucked into their new rooms, Celine found Cassian in the mansion's library. He was putting books on a shelf, books he had bought just for the kids. Is this all real? She asked, leaning against the door. Sometimes it feels like a dream. Cassian placed the last book on the shelf and walked toward her. It's real, he said, holding her hands, and it's just the beginning of what we can build together. The news about Celine and the children's shelter spread fast. Soon it was on every major news channel. People were amazed by the story of a rich girl who lost everything but never gave up. She worked as a cleaner to help the children, and now the world was watching her story unfold. One morning, Cassian was sitting on the porch of his mansion in Connecticut, drinking coffee and watching the children play in the garden with Mrs. Elowin. "Couldn't sleep?" Celine asked as she walked up with her own cup of coffee. "I was looking at Northwest's plans," he said, moving over to make space for her on the bench. "They want to test Project Aurora in poor neighborhoods in Seattle." "That's a good start," she said, watching Rio show Junie how to draw trees. "But we have to make sure it stays true to the original idea." "That's why I'm meeting with community leaders next week," Cassian explained. "I want people to have a say in how the project helps them." Laughter filled the air as Rio proudly showed his drawing to the others. Celine's heart felt warm. "They look so happy here," she said. "Away from the city, with space to be kids." "We could make this place permanent," Cassian suggested. He gently held her hand. "An education center with a school, science labs, and solar greenhouses." Celine laughed. "Are you building a whole town?" "I'm building a future," he said seriously. "One that brings technology and kindness together. And I want to build it with you." Before Celine could answer, Isadora walked onto the porch looking worried. "Mr. Vale, Evander Holt just called the office. He wants to make a deal." Celine's smile faded. "What kind of deal?" "He says he has information about other business scams. In exchange, he wants a lighter punishment," Isadora explained. "And he has proof about the day Everhart Industries was hacked." Celine tensed. That day was a painful memory. Years of research had disappeared in an instant. "I don't trust him," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "He's always up to something." "I agree," Cassian said, holding her hand. "But if he has proof that could help others, we should think about the bigger picture." Isadora nodded. "The lawyers suggest a safe meeting. He'll stay in custody, and any deal depends on real evidence." "I want to be there," Celine said firmly. "I need to see his face when we talk about that day." Cassian admired her courage. "You won't face him alone this time." The morning passed as they made plans. The children played happily, unaware of the serious discussion happening nearby. During lunch, Cassian watched Celine helping the children. Even with so much on her mind, she put them first. Her strength wasn't just about surviving hard times. It was about caring for others no matter what. Later, when they were alone in the library, Cassian said, "We don't have to rush this. We can wait and build a stronger case." Celine shook her head. "I've already waited 5 years. I need to know the truth." Cassian walked over to her. "Then let's face this together, but first I want to show you something." He led her to a room that had been locked since he arrived. When Celine opened the door, her eyes widened. Inside was a brand new science lab, filled with all the latest technology. "I had it set up last night," Cassian said. "No matter what Holt says, you can start your work again here." Celine ran her fingers over the equipment she hadn't used in years. "It's perfect," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "Like you," Cassian said gently, "strong, kind, and able to turn loss into something beautiful." Celine stepped closer, the space between them disappearing. "Thank you," she whispered, "not just for this, but for helping me believe again." Cassian touched her face softly, looking into her eyes. "You taught me more about believing than I ever imagined." Their lips met in a gentle kiss filled with hope, trust, and a future waiting to be built together. The meeting with Evander Holt was set in a secure room at the Department of Justice in Manhattan. Cassian and Celine arrived early, along with their team of lawyers. The gray autumn sky seemed to match the heavy feeling in the air. Before they walked in, Cassian held Celine's hand. "You're in control," he reminded her. "We can leave anytime." Holt was brought in wearing an orange prison uniform instead of his fancy suit. He smirked at Celine. "Miss Everhart," he said, "or should I say Miss Elowin, you fooled us for a long time." "Let's get to the point," Cassian interrupted. You said you have proof about the Everhart Industries hack. Holt shifted in his chair. I do. I have full backups of everything that was stolen that day. Celine's heart raced. Why keep it all these years? Because you never know when you'll need a trump card, he said smugly. And now, here we are. The lawyers talked about conditions, but Celine wasn't listening. Her father's life's work wasn't lost after all. I want to see the proof first, she said. Holt smirked. I knew you'd say that. The files are in a safe in Las Vegas. I memorized the location. Cassian frowned. Why hide it in Vegas? Because in a city full of secrets, it's easy to hide one more. As the meeting ended, Holt spoke again. There's something else, Celine, about your father. The room went silent. He knew what I was planning, Holt admitted. The night before the hack, he begged me to stop. He believed technology should help people, not just make money. Tears streamed down Celine's face. Why tell me now? Because he was a better man than me, Holt said, and maybe after all this time, I finally get what he meant. On the way back home, Celine sat quietly, lost in thought. We need to go to Vegas, she said at last. The jet is ready, Cassian replied. We leave tomorrow. Celine smiled, touched by how he always thought of everything. How do you do that? She asked. Balance everything so well? Because I found something more important than business success, he said, looking at her warmly. I found you. When Celine and Cassian got out of the car, two little kids, Rio and Junie, ran to them. Celine hugged them tightly. She felt happy and safe in their small arms. Later that night, after dinner, when the children were asleep, Cassian found Celine in the lab. She was organizing things for the big test they had to do soon. You don't have to do this now, Cassian said kindly. I need to keep busy, Celine answered. If I stop working, I will start to worry. Cassian walked closer and took a microscope from her shaking hands. Then let's talk about the future. What will we do when we get the files back? What if they're not there? Celine's voice was full of worry. What if Holt tricked us again? Then we will start over, Cassian said firmly. Right here, in this lab. You won't be alone. I will help you. Celine looked into his eyes. She saw the same strength that had helped her through the last 5 years. How do you always know the right thing to say? She asked. Because I learned from you, Cassian said. Sometimes simple words are the most true. Then he kissed her. This kiss felt different, deeper, full of hope. They both knew that whatever they found in Las Vegas, they had already found something more important. Trust, respect, and a love that grew stronger every day. The private jet from Val Enterprises landed in Las Vegas under a beautiful sky, colored orange and purple. Cassian and Celine sat in silence, thinking about what they would find in Holt's secret safe. The safe is in a private storage room under the Bellagio casino, Cassian explained, as the driver took them down the bright Las Vegas streets. Holt was smart. He chose one of the safest places in town. Celine looked at the flashing lights of the casinos. It was so different from their quiet home in Connecticut. The kids called while you were on the phone, she said. Junie wants to know if we are bringing them gifts from Vegas. Cassian smiled and held her hand. Isadora already took care of it. A local company is making special science kits just for them. The Bellagio Hotel stood tall in front of them. Its famous fountains danced to music they couldn't hear from inside the car. When they arrived at the VIP entrance, a man named Evander Williams, the head of security, greeted them. Mr. Vale, Miss Everhart, he said. We got permission from the court. The safe has been under our watch since Holt was arrested. He led them through fancy hallways to a private elevator. As they went down, Celine squeezed Cassian's hand tightly. The safe is in a high-security area, Williams explained. We have to pass 3 checkpoints. The first checkpoint scanned their faces. The second needed secret codes that changed every hour. The third was a round room with many safes, all looking the same. Number 2187, Williams said, stopping in front of one. Celine pulled a paper from her pocket. Her hands shook as she read the numbers, Holt had given her. 48 17 33 9205. The safe made a soft clicking sound. When the door opened, they saw a small metal box and an old envelope. "That's it?" Cassian asked, surprised. Celine picked up the envelope and gasped. "This is my father's handwriting," she whispered. Williams understood and left the room to give them privacy. Celine slowly opened the letter. "My dear daughter, if you are reading this, it means I was right about Evander. The night before the hack, I made a copy of the Aurora project. I saved not just the data, but our real dream to use technology to help people. Holt stole our files, but he cannot steal our purpose. The files in this box are locked with a password only you know. The date you decided to become a scientist. Never let anger fill your heart. There are good people in this world. You just have to trust enough to find them." With all my love, tears ran down Celine's face as she finished reading. Cassian wrapped his arms around her, letting her cry. "He knew," she whispered. "He knew this would happen, and he was ready." "Your father was amazing," Cassian said softly. "Just like his daughter." Celine wiped her tears and turned to the small metal box. She typed in a date, 7/15/98. The box opened with a click. Inside were data drives and handwritten notebooks. "It's all here," she whispered. "The research, the prototypes, even new ideas." "Now what?" Cassian asked. Celine smiled through her tears. "Now we go home, to our children, to our lab, to our future." Cassian heard the word "our" and knew it meant something special. He lifted her chin and looked into her eyes. "Together?" he asked. "Together," she confirmed, sealing the promise with a soft kiss. Back in Connecticut, Celine worked day and night on the recovered data. Cassian watched her through the glass walls of the lab. He loved how she balanced being a scientist and a caring mother to the children in the shelter. One day, Isadora walked in. "Mr. Vale, Northwest Technologies is on the line. They want to speed up the project." Cassian sighed and took the call. The company's boss was impatient. "Every day we wait, we lose money," he argued. "Rushing things is risky," Cassian replied. "And dangerous," another voice added. Celine had entered the office. "Technology without care is just power in the wrong hands. My father believed that. So do I." The boss went silent. In the end, they agreed on a better schedule. After the call, Cassian smiled at Celine. "You did the right thing. This fight is yours as much as mine." Their talk was interrupted by Junie's excited screams outside. They ran to the garden and saw Junie holding a tiny solar-powered car. "It works," she shouted. "The first prototype works," Celine beamed. "Let's celebrate with a picnic." The children cheered. Soon, they were outside, eating and playing. As Cassian watched them, Celine sat next to him. "A penny for your thoughts?" she asked. "Everything has changed," he said. "A few months ago, I only cared about business. Now, I see what really matters." Celine rested her head on his shoulder. "My father would have liked you." "I hope so," Cassian whispered, "because I want to spend the rest of my life honoring his dream. Our dream." That night in the lab, Celine showed him the new improvements in their project. "Now we can make clean energy cheaper and better." Cassian watched her in awe. "Celine," he said softly, "marry me." She froze. "What?" "Marry me," he repeated. "Not just for the project, not just for the children, for us. Together we are better than we ever were apart." Celine smiled. "Yes, yes!" News of their engagement spread fast. Uni became the wedding planner carrying a pink notebook full of ideas. "We need unicorns and confetti made from tiny solar panels," she said. "And blue flowers," she added at breakfast, "because blue is the color of clean energy." Celine smiled as she looked at Cassian. The children's excitement made everything feel special. What could have been a boring business event now felt like a fun family gathering. Isadora walked into the kitchen, holding her tablet. "Northwest Technologies called again," she said. "They want to start the first field tests next week." Celine frowned as she poured juice for Rio. "I thought we agreed to wait a month." Isadora nodded. Yes, but they found new places in rural Arizona where people really need affordable energy. Cassian saw the thoughtful look on Celine's face. He knew she wanted to help right away, but she also wanted to make sure everything was done properly. What if we do a small test here first? He suggested. We can turn part of the property into a model community that uses clean energy. The kids can help and learn too. Celine's face lit up. That's a great idea. We could start with the school we are planning to build. It would show how technology can help education. Can I help? Rio asked excitedly. I want to learn everything about solar energy. Of course, Cassian said, ruffling Rio's hair. Actually, I was thinking about starting a special science program for kids. The morning turned into a fun planning session. The kids had great ideas. Uni suggested a garden with solar-powered lights. Rio drew a picture of a solar-powered watering system. It's amazing how easily they understand sustainability, Celine said later as they walked outside. For them, it's not just technology, it's about taking care of the world. Cassian stopped and gently pulled Celine into his arms. Just like you always think about the bigger picture and helping others. She smiled. I learned that from my father. She leaned her head on his chest. Seeing these kids, it feels like his dream is still alive. Just then they heard footsteps. Isadora rushed over, looking worried. Sorry to interrupt, but I just got an important call. Like Evander Holt wants to make a public confession. What kind of confession? Cassian asked, feeling Celine tense in his arms. He wants to reveal everything, Isadora said. Not just about Everhard Industries, but all the corporate secrets he was part of. She hesitated. He specifically asked for you, Celine. A heavy silence filled the air. Cassian held Celine protectively, but she had already made up her mind. When? She asked. Tomorrow, in Manhattan at the federal court. I'll be there, Celine said firmly. It's time to end this chapter. Don't go alone, Cassian said. We face everything together. The rest of the day was busy with preparations. Mrs. Elowen agreed to watch the children, though Junie insisted on drawing a picture to give Celine strength. That evening, when the house was quiet, Cassian found Celine in the lab, looking through her father's notes. Can't sleep? He asked softly. I found something interesting, she said, showing him a page. My father had an idea about making technology even better. We never got to test it. Cassian studied the page. Do you think it could work? I'm pretty sure, she said, smiling. It feels like he's still guiding me. He would be proud, Cassian said, kissing her forehead, not just of the scientist you've become, but the person you are. Celine closed the notebook and looked at him. For years, I thought my goal was to get my father's work back. But now I see it was about so much more. About finding your own path, Cassian added, and helping others find theirs. As the sun rose, they were still in the lab, planning the future, both of Project Aurora and their life together. The morning of Evander Holt's confession was bright and clear. Cassian and Celine arrived early at the courthouse, holding hands for strength. Before they walked in, Celine took out Junie's drawing. It showed a smiling sun and a diverse group of people holding hands. Our source of strength, she whispered, showing it to Cassian. Inside, the courtroom was packed with reporters and business executives. When Evander Holt entered in his prison uniform, he looked straight at Celine. Miss Everhart, he said, his voice heavy with emotion. Before I confess, there's something I need to tell you. The room went silent. Cassian squeezed Celine's hand. She kept her eyes steady on Holt. Your father came to see me the night before the hack, Holt continued. He showed me something I didn't understand at the time. He paused. In his desk drawer, there were photos of children in villages without electricity. He told me, Evander, we are not just building a company, we are building a future. Tears ran down Celine's face. Holt went on, confessing all his crimes. But what haunted him most wasn't the money he stole. What I regret most, he said, is the time I took away from these communities. Every day this technology was hidden, was a day someone could have had a better life. The confession lasted hours. He gave names, dates, and proof of a deep web of corruption. But for Celine, the most meaningful part was when he admitted to watching her work at the shelter. "I saw how you turned your loss into something good," he said. "Even when you had nothing, you still helped others. It made me question everything I did." After the testimony, as lawyers and reporters left, Cassian and Celine found a quiet moment together. "How do you feel?" Cassian asked softly. Celine looked at Junie's drawing. "At peace," she said. "Not just because of the confession, but because I finally understand my father's dream was never lost. It was alive in every child we helped." Cassian's phone buzzed. It was a message from Rio. He had sent a photo of their first solar panel in the mansion's garden. The kids even held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. "Look," Celine said, showing her phone. "Junie is already planning a solar science park. She's our official planner now." Cassian joked, making Celine laugh. Back in Connecticut, they were welcomed with hugs and cheers. The kids had made posters celebrating Truth Day. Mrs. Elowen baked Celine's favorite cake. "We did it," Rio shouted, running to hug Celine. "Now we can build our solar school." "Not just a school," Cassian said, picking up Junie. "Let's build an entire future." That night, after the children were asleep, Cassian found Celine looking at the stars. "A penny for your thoughts?" he asked, using their special phrase. She turned to him. "Life sometimes takes us exactly where we need to be, even if the path is hard." Cassian smiled, "Like a cleaning lady who turned out to be the smartest scientist I know. Sure, and a ruthless billionaire who turned out to be the kindest man I've ever met," she added. They stood together, listening to the quiet hum of the night. "You know what amazes me most?" Cassian said. "How we found family in the most unexpected places." Celine nodded. "A family built not just on blood, but on love and purpose." As the sun rose, they were still in the lab, planning not just their wedding, but a lifetime of possibilities, a future where technology and humanity worked hand in hand. And as the first golden rays filled the sky, they shared a kiss, sealing their love and their promise to make the world a better place. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.